What's up guys, and welcome to another video. What's been on my mind for a little while now is why is it when a band split off and do a side project, does that side project never get as big as the regular band? Sure, there are exceptions to the rule. Look at Hell Yeah, they're having an awesome career. But let's talk about Stone Sour and Slipknot, or Velvet Revolver and Guns N' Roses, or perhaps Boxcar Racer and Plus 44 versus Blink-182, but I'm not going to go into them too much because people are starting to call me the Blink-182 NBA, which is hilarious, but it's not what my channel's all about. You see, these bands, they have the talent. They're amazing musicians. The songwriting skills are there. They can really write a song. And all of these bands are in a good niche. Like Velvet Revolver, they never seem to get as big as Guns N' Roses. They were pretty much basically there. They were notorious and they were well loved and people really enjoyed seeing their performances. Their album sold really well. They were promoted pretty heavily by the record label. But again, they still weren't as big as Guns N' Roses. Even to this day, like Guns N' Roses, when they do their reunion tour, people are going nuts. People are going to like the Olympic Stadium and seeing them. Similar thing with Stone Sour versus Slipknot. Slipknot are just one of the biggest metal bands in the world, if not the biggest metal band in the world. They headline every festival. They have their own festival, Knotfest, of course. They play arenas year in, year out. They are so big. And Stone Sour are still good, but they're more the kind of band to play at 4 p.m. on a festival, not headline it. But again, they're in a fantastic niche. Okay, Stone Sour, they're not a metal band. They're more of a hard rock / new metal band, okay? So they're actually in a more popular niche. Their audience should, in theory, be wider than Slipknot's audience purely because they are in a genre and a niche which is generally more popular. Think of bands like Shinedown, Five Finger Death Punch, these sort of middle-of-the-road radio rock bands which seem to get millions and millions of listeners on Spotify. In theory, I would have thought with two members, well, one member of Slipknot, but previously two members of Slipknot already in Stone Sour, it would have the opportunity to get as big. And also bearing in mind that they are the same record label. They're both signed to Roadrunner Records. Now, I'm gonna break down why I think this is that, generally speaking, side projects never seem to get the attention that the real band, or the original band, I should say, seem to get. But before that, guys, could you please hit the subscribe button? It is the most helpful thing that you can do for my channel. I appreciate it so much. Thank you, guys. The band's not as good. That could be the case, but a lot of the time it's not actually the case. Boxcar Racer, for example, fantastic band. Plus 44, fantastic band. There was no reason for them to not have the same amount of success and notoriety as Blink-182, right? But it felt like when those side projects began, it actually took a backseat. Another thing that people often say is, oh, but Dave, these bands came out like 10 years after the first band. That's not always the case though. Look at bands like Parkway Drive, Avenged Sevenfold, Fall Out Boy. These are all huge bands which have only really been around for the last 15 years. Reason number one why I think this is, and I briefly mentioned it with Slipknot, the record label. So with Slipknot and Stone Sour, they're both signed to the exact same label. When you are a musician and you sign a contract, if you leave that band, chances are, once you've left the band, you are still under contract to release an album. That is why when a member leaves a band, they still end up releasing an acoustic album or immediately release like a solo album or a side project band album or a new project band album because they are under contract to do so with their label. But at the same time, the label and the management can have huge decisions in the direction of the band. I like to compare record labels sort of to the YouTube algorithm, okay? The YouTube algorithm is designed to keep you engaged, to keep you consuming the content, to keep you on their website, to keep you giving them ad revenue. It's gonna have an algorithm which is designed to hook you in. It's gonna find the things you like and it's gonna keep shoving them in your face. So if the YouTube algorithm thinks that this one video, right, is gonna be liked by everyone, it'll show it to everyone. But if it only thinks that a few people are gonna like it, it'll just show it to those few people in that niche, okay? My videos, for example, probably only get shown to people who are into music and pop punk and metalcore. Whereas a video of a cat playing a piano is going to probably get shown to everyone because it's only 20 seconds long. YouTube knows people will watch it and it's hilarious and it will get millions of views. And record labels are the exact same. If they think that you are going to stream it or watch the music videos, purchase the albums, go to the concerts, they're obviously going to promote it more. They're not going to waste money promoting a band who they don't think is as big. So sometimes the record label can have a huge decider in who is going to be the next big band based off of what they think. And this is probably why a band like Stone Sour versus Slipknot, even though they got promoted and they went on the festival circuits and they're on hiatus now, but they had loads of music videos, they had a song on the Spider-Man soundtrack, all of this cool stuff going on. The label is still going to promote Slipknot because that's where they think the fan base is, mainly because, yes, maybe Slipknot were around for a few years longer, but also Slipknot are an anomaly. There is not really any other band like Slipknot. There's a few like the Mushroom Head bands and stuff like that, right? But Slipknot are the only and main majorly popular band of that genre, of that niche. Whereas Stone Sour, like I mentioned, they have a lot of competition. There are a lot of bands producing that sound, and there especially were around the time they began. When Stone Sour started really getting big back in about 2001, 2002, that was the time when so many bands sounded the same as them pretty much. There was Stained, Puddle of Mud, Shinedown were just getting started. There's just all of these, Trapped as well, gosh, Trapped, oh my goodness, yeah. All of these quote butt rock bands were coming along, and perhaps there was a bit too much competition, but also I think that Stone Sour, although fantastic, and I love the raw emotion in the songs, I love Corey as a songwriter, I love his voice, I love the way that he has sort of like the heavier sort of angry songs in Slipknot, but then he has the real true emotional, deep, well-written songs, melodic songs in Stone Sour. I think that is fantastic. It's just that the record label weren't giving it all, and it could also be something to do with the members of the band as well. Perhaps the members of the band literally do see it as a side project, as something where this isn't going to be our full-time thing, it's going to be a creative outlet. This wasn't the case with bands like Velvet Revolver though. Like Velvet Revolver, it was their full-time band. Plus 44, full-time band. Angels and Airwaves, full-time band. But if the label doesn't believe in them, then it's not going to promote them. Movie studios do this as well. I like to compare a record label to a movie studio as well, because think about huge box office hits, right? Think about the Avengers movies and the Star Wars movies. Disney gives those creators, those producers, and those directors a lot of money. It gives them like $300 to $400 million just to make one movie, because they know it's going to make money. So not only will they give them a lot of money to make the film, but they also spend a lot of money promoting it. Okay, imagine you're in London or New York or Singapore or San Francisco or wherever. You're not going to see billboards and bus advertisements and metro and subway advertisements for a small film or like the new Adam Sandler film, right? The heavy promotion is going to go towards these big budget films that people or the studio executives believe are going to make the most money, and therefore they will spend the most money advertising it and marketing it, and they will put the most focus onto that. Let's look at Sony, right? Sony has the Spider-Man films. It had the Resident Evil films, right? It promotes them heavily. But when Adam Sandler, I love him, by the way, this is no shade to him, but when he makes a movie like, say, Pixels, for example, which is a great film, I love it. I love all of Adam Sandler's stuff. I love his stand-up stuff. He's like one of my favorite actors, but the studio, they think it's going to tank. They think the critics are going to dislike it. They don't think that it's got the box office draw. They don't think people are going to go see it in cinema or download it online or rent it or watch it on Netflix. And therefore they're not going to promote it as much, because why would they waste money promoting something which isn't going to bring them much in return? Sometimes the record label can have some meddling, the same way that studio executives can have creative direction control. And if you're signed to a record label like Universal, for example, they want poppy bands, okay? They want poppy bands, right? who are going to make poppy hits, and that's why they promoted Blink-182 so much back in the day. But as soon as Boxcar Racer comes out and they're making more post-hardcore songs and a bit heavier songs, a bit more aggressive songs, punk rocky songs, and a different sound, and the exact same thing with Stone Sour as well, and just a host of other side projects and bands, the record label is going to always specialize in something. So for Roadrunner, they signed the heavy bands. They like it when Amity Affliction make heavy records, right? That's why they signed them, and Amity Affliction aren't signed to them anymore. Slipknot, really, really, really heavy. They want to promote that because it's Roadrunner Records, right? Stone Sour, not so heavy, so not going to promote it as much. Point number 2, audience loyalty. Going back to Boxcar Racer, they came out with that album in 2002, and I love that album. Everyone I know who's listened to that album loves that album. That album has a huge cult following, right? And people just didn't care because they were so loyal to Blink that they didn't really want to listen to anything in which isn't Blink-182, right? And it seemed that when Blink-182 split up, people were like, oh, I'm going to listen to Boxcar Racer now, right? It's weird, right? So we've all been going to places like McDonald's, Subway, Burger King our entire lives, right? And we know them, we trust them. Every time we walk into a Subway, we know what we're getting. We already know what we're going to order before we even step up to the counter most of the time as well. But what if the head office of Subway decides, let's start a new chain, okay? We're going to start another chain. It's going to make similar things slightly differently at a different price with slightly different ingredients. It'll be extremely similar, but it won't be the exact same, that it's literally like identical. Let's say they call it London Underground Subs or Metro Subs or something like that. Even if, okay, these subs are cheaper or perhaps they taste better, most of the time the people will stick to what they know. Now this might fall under a band being around before the other band, yes, but it's also due to the fact that they could have heard that band first. And this works the other way around. There are a lot of people in the world who have listened to Stone Sour and love them, but they won't pay any attention to Slipknot. There are a lot of people who have listened to one of the Blink-182 side projects but won't listen to Blink-182 because that's what they heard first and that's what they are loyal to. And there's a lot of people who really love Hell Yeah but don't really like Mudvayne. I'm actually one of them. I actually prefer Hell Yeah to Mudvayne, right? So very, very interesting, but consumers are always loyal. I love the Amity Affliction. They're one of my favorite bands, but I know that if Joel or Aaron from the Amity Affliction started a side project which was more punky or more rocky or more melodic rocky, the chances of me listening to it are very slim. The same way that if of Mice and Men release a new album, or Miss May I, or any other metalcore or scene kid band, right, release a new album, I'm probably not going to listen to it as much as I'm going to listen to Amity Affliction's new album. Like every time Amity releases a new album, even if it's not very good, even if tracks 1, 2, and 3 aren't very good, I will still listen to it from start to finish. I did it with The Offspring last week or the week before. I listened to the whole album from start to finish because I've listened to them since I was like 5 years old, right? So it makes sense. People are loyal. People stick to what they know. And going back to that Subway analogy, no matter how much better the subs at London Underground Subs or Metro Subs are, most people will still go back to Subway because that's what they know best. So I don't think it's necessarily that one band is better than the other or one band was around before the other. I think it's more just a loyalty thing. The amount of people who see an advertisement for a new movie like Ant-Man or Star Wars, only maybe 10% of them will go and see it. Same thing with YouTube, okay? My videos, the thumbnail shows up in recommendation pages of thousands and thousands and thousands of people because I check the analytics, but only a small percentage of that watch the video. And it's the same with a band. You've got what you know, and then you have something else which you display to people, but only 10% of your already existing fan base are going to watch that new video or the new project or listen to the new album or download it or whatever it is, because that's just the way that marketing is. And essentially music is a business, music is an industry. a band is a business, and it's all to do with marketing a lot of the time. It's not always to do with personal preference, it's to do sometimes just with pure marketing. Awesome, guys. Well, let me know what you think down below, because I honestly think that so many of the bands that I've mentioned are just as good, if not even probably better than the original band. I prefer Velvet Revolver to Guns N' Roses. I think I like Stone Sour equally to Slipknot. Brown Sound from Sum 41, his other band, Brown Brigade, that was really, really, really awesome. When they had the potential there, they had the songwriting, they had the talent, obviously, just didn't blow up as much. Have you guys got anyone in mind that you can think of, any bands that you love who aren't as good as their other counterpart or aren't as big as their other counterpart? Let me know down in the comments. One more time, guys, please hit the subscribe button. That would be absolutely legendary, and I'll see you in the next video.